US-China strategic competition, understanding America's containment policy and future options. The global power landscape is being reshaped by the rise of China and the response of the United States. What was once a largely unipolar world dominated by American influence has evolved into a more multipolar environment. In this changing context, the United States has adopted a comprehensive approach, often referred to as a China containment policy. We now try to explore the nature of that policy, the threats the United States perceives, the countermeasures it is employing, and the strengths and challenges both powers bring to the international stage. We will also examine whether full scale containment is feasible or desirable and propose more sustainable alternatives for long term US strategy. What is the US China containment policy? Though the term containment harkens back to Cold War strategies against the Soviet Union, it has re emerged in discussions around US China relations. At its core, America's current China policy involves a broad set of military, economic, and diplomatic strategies aimed at limiting China's ability to expand its global influence in ways that could undermine American interests. Key pillars of this informal containment strategy include military alliances, strengthening security ties through arrangements like Quad with India, Japan, and Australia, and AUKUS with UK and Australia. As regards technological restrictions, we see blocking Chinese access to advanced technologies, especially in semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and telecommunications. With regard to economic diversification, encouraging reshoring or friendshoring of supply chains to reduce dependence on China, building, rallying democratic partners to counterbalance China's influence in the Indo Pacific and multilateral organizations. This policy is not a declaration of hostility, but it reflects growing strategic distrust and a desire to preserve US primacy in global governance. With regard to perceived threats to US national interests, from a policy perspective, American concerns regarding China are rooted in five main areas. Number one, military expansion. China's increasing assertiveness in the South China Sea, its modernization of the People's Liberation Army, and its growing navy challenge United States military dominance in the Indo-Pacific. Number two, technological competition. China's state-backed push for technological self-sufficiency threatens United States dominance in emerging technologies like 5G, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing. The fear is that whoever leads in these domains will set global norms. Number three is the economic leverage. Though initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, China is expanding its economic and political influence in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. US policymakers see this as a way for China to displace Western influence. Number four is cybersecurity and espionage. Repeated allegations of cyber attacks, intellectual property thefts, and digital surveillance attributed to Chinese actors have raised alarms in Washington. Then is the American countermeasures. In response, the US has adopted an assertive mix of tools. Number one, export controls, limiting the sale of advanced microchips and manufacturing equipment to Chinese firms like Huawei and SMIC, deploying more military assets in the Indo Pacific and increasing cooperation with allies like Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. And finally, the cybersecurity enhancement, increasing defense budgets for cyber infrastructure and counterintelligence. These measures indicate a shift from engagement to strategic competition. With regard to economic strength, we see the United States is the world's largest economy with a GDP of over $27 trillion, leader in innovation and consumer markets. As regards China, we see it is the second largest economy, around $17 trillion, with a vast manufacturing base and rapidly growing middle class. With reference to technological capacity, We see United States dominate in research and development, advanced computing, aerospace, and life sciences. Silicon Valley remains the global epicenter of innovation. As regards China, it leads in 5G, green energy, and e commerce, invests heavily in artificial intelligence, robotics, and biotech backed by state planning. With regard to military power, United States maintains unmatched global reach, 11 aircraft carriers, 800 overseas bases, and about 71 submarines, all nuclear powered. As regards China, it has 3 aircraft carriers, 1 overseas base at Djibouti, approximately 60 to 70 operational submarines, including 13 to 15 nuclear powered. It has world's largest army and rapidly modernizing navy and missile forces. In relative terms, the United States still holds qualitative superiority, but the gap is narrowing, especially in Asia. As regards China's global strength and influence, it is the largest trading partner for over 120 countries central to global supply chains. Technologically, leader in digital payments, solar panels, electric vehicles, and supercomputing. Diplomatically, it is increasingly active in shaping multilateral institutions, quite active in BRICS and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. While China does not yet match the US in global power projection, its regional assertiveness and influence in the global south does pose new challenges. As regards what threats does China realistically pose to United States interest, we see Taiwan as a flashpoint. A Chinese attempt to forcefully reunify Taiwan could trigger a US military response, potentially sparking a major war. As regards economic coercion through trade restrictions or debt diplomacy, China could exert leverage over smaller countries aligned with US. Closer ties between China, Russia, Iran, and others may weaken the effectiveness of United States-led sanctions or diplomacy. These threats are serious but manageable with well-calibrated responses. The point is, can the US realistically contain China? Containment in the Cold War sense, total isolation is not viable due to the following realities. Number one, interdependence. The US and China are economically intertwined. Full decoupling would harm global supply chains and transnational corporations' global investment environment. In this multipolar world, many nations prefer not to take sides. Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America value both relationships. As regards global challenges, issues like climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation required cooperation, not confrontation. Rather than strict containment, a policy of managed competition may yield better outcomes. Instead of over reliance on military alliances and exclusionary blocs like Quad and AUKUS, the US could pursue the following balanced strategy. Number one, reinvest in domestic capacity, bolster education, infrastructure, and industrial policy to maintain innovation leadership, reduce supply chain vulnerabilities through strategic onshoring and friendshoring, rejoin or renegotiate trade frameworks like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership to offer credible alternatives to China's economic model. Number 3, expand software, strengthen international development assistance, climate leadership, and cultural diplomacy to maintain global influence. Work with China where interests align, public health, climate mitigation, nuclear non-proliferation while competing in other areas. And number 5, focus on norm building. Lead efforts to shape digital governance, artificial intelligence ethics, and trade rules with democratic partners, avoiding exclusivity. In conclusion, China's rise is reshaping the global order, and the United States is right to safeguard its interests. But long term security and prosperity will not be achieved through containment alone. Instead, the United States must embrace a more flexible strategy that combines competitive resilience with diplomatic foresight. For students of international relations, and policymakers alike. This moment offers an opportunity not to repeat Cold War mistakes but to build a more stable, inclusive, and cooperative international system even amidst rivalry. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.